Thank you for joining us, and here's some of the reports we're filing at this hour. I am Frank Omalape. And now Nigeria's oil exports plunged to below 1 million barrels per day, the lowest level on record last month. Oil export analytics firm Petro-Logistics said yesterday over the past 3 years, Nigeria's crude oil exports have halved, according to Petro-Logistics. Persistent underinvestment in the oil industry and the perennial problem of oil theft from pipelines have plagued the sector in recent years. Crude oil production slumped to below 1 million barrels per day last month, the lowest level since at least 1990, according to data from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, cited by newsmen. The data shows that combined crude oil and condensate production fell to 1.18 million barrels per day in August, the lowest so far. For July, Nigeria's crude oil production target was around 1.799 million barrels per day, which means that the African OPEC producer was more than 600,000 barrels per day below its target. A still low Nigerian oil export haven't pushed oil prices up in recent weeks, as the market is focused on potential losses in demand that could come from a global economic slowdown and a possible recession in Europe. Away from then, oil producers subject to quotas raised their output by only 30,000 barrels per day in August and undershot their combined target by a massive 3.4 million barrels per day, according to data from August. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries Coalition was due last month to have fully unwound the production cuts of 9.7 million barrels per day agreed in April 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, but many members have struggled to restore supply. The shortfall of 3.4 million barrels per day in August relative to the quota was wider by more than 600,000 barrels per day on the month August estimate revealed. OPEC member countries with quotas raised supply by only 200,000 barrels per day, leaving them 1.27 million barrels per day below their target. Non-OPEC members of the coalition underperformed to a greater extent as output fell in Russia and Kazakhstan. Among OPEC producers, West African countries were responsible for most of its shortfall. Disruptions continue to affect loadings of Forcados, Bonny Light and Brass River State, Nigeria. And now the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Consumer says it is targeting about 14.3 billion as revenue next year. The Executive Vice Chairman Babatunde Irukara disclosed this on Monday at a hearing on the 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper held by the House of Representatives Committee on Finance in Abuja. Irukara, who gave details on the Commission's spending, said before he assumed office in April 2017, the FCCPC had zero remittance into government coffers. According to him, in 2019, after the establishment law was amended, 98 million naira was remitted and the Commission pulled out from being funded by the Treasury and became self-funded. He added that in 2021, about 1.3 billion naira was remitted, while so far in 2022, about 1.26 billion naira has been remitted. Irukara said even though the FCCPC is not a revenue-generating agency, its targeting for 2023 is about 14.3 billion naira. He added that the agency has been exposed to so many dangers, especially when faced with loan sharks and digital lenders that send defamatory messages in the country. And our aviation unions have given the federal government a 14-day ultimatum to the federal government over what they say are anti-labor clauses in recently amended aviation bills. The unions say clauses inserted in the bills give the Minister of Aviation overriding powers to direct affairs on issues affecting trade unions in the industry, stressing that the clauses were an attempt to gag and control the unions. They asked the federal government to remove them, to express their grievances and push forward their demands for the expunging of the obnoxious Essential Services Clause from the Bills Act of the Aviation Agencies The workers held peaceful protest in the airport in the country. Some of them carried placards calling on the president not to send to the VU. Other placards have messages such as "Our voices must be heard" and "Prohibition of aviation union activities is evil," among other messages. During the protest in Lagos, the General Secretary of the National Union of Air Transport Employees, or CHEME, said aviation unions have carried the Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress along in the bid to reverse the ugly trend which seeks to muzzle aviation workers. The number of passports issued by the Nigerian Immigration Service rose by 38% between 2020 and 2021. This is an increase from 767,164 to 1.05 million passports issued in 2020 and 2021 respectively. According to data obtained from the NIS, the passport types ranged from standard, official, diplomatic, emergency travel certificate, and refugee passport or convention travel document. A breakdown of that number revealed that out of the total passports issued in 2020, 761,825 were standard, while 2,024 were official and 444 were diplomatic, and 2,871 were among other reasons. In 2021, the NIS issued about 1.04 million standard passports and 2,811 official passports, 895 diplomatic passports, and 14,214 among other categories, and around 150 refugee passports. That's about 2,081 and 2,853 passports issued every 24 hours in 2020 and 2021 respectively. For the period under review, the United Kingdom Immigration Report shows that 13,609 Nigerian healthcare workers were granted working visas. This is second only to India, with about 42,966 practitioners. According to the Nigerian Social Cohesion Survey 2021 taken by the African Polling Institute, 7 out of 10 Nigerians were eager to leave their country if offered the opportunity. Also, a World Bank survey taken that year revealed that about 56,000 more Nigerians were leaving the country yearly than arriving. As the trend continues, Japa IBrand took to the street to get views of Nigerians.
Each time one visits the immigration offices in Nigeria, it is often an unusual phenomenon to see Nigerians trying to apply for international passports or collect them. The rate at which Nigerians seek to leave the country in recent times calls for concern. Apart from seeking greener pastures, some Nigerians travel for educational purposes, among other reasons.
Nigerians are suffering. It has never happened today. Before. One of my friends was asking me at the Ikeja bus stop. He said, "Do you know that for the past 6 months, nobody have asked me for outing?" I said, "Now what for you? How do they have you for outing? When you are going home, you can't even afford to buy bread to go and give your children. Our children are not running to us now to greet us again because there is nothing to show. So we must leave." Personally, I've already started packing my load. The rich are getting richer. The poor are getting poorer. Even the dogs are complaining because there's no food in the dustbin. Our children have been at home for over 6 months, and we're buying vehicles for those in another country that will not benefit us. Is that a country? So we need to leave. How I wish by the next 1 hour, any available plane, let me leave.
But why I feel Nigerians are leaving the country, majorly for me, is insecurity. Because you can't be free in a place where you are not safe. So for that, even if I have an opportunity, I'm going to leave this country immediately, like ASAP.
There are better opportunities out there. Not that we don't have them here, but achieving them here is very difficult. Take after graduating, for example. When you in fact get a job, you cannot compare the income level here as an entry-level person to what is attainable over there. And then, of course, you have good work, the good proper structure. The transportation is good, at least manageable. The health care is better. In fact, every other aspect of life there's better. So once I see an opportunity for me to go up, mobile, that is upward mobility, of course I'll take it. It's just a pity that my country cannot offer that same thing.
The economic situation is not comfortable, not convenient for some Nigerians. Most of them, their financial stability is actually not a good one. Some of them are struggling to survive. So they have the belief that even if they leave this country, they will have better opportunity, work opportunity. Let me say the basic things in life like water, light, and the things that they need to survive and live comfortably will be provided. So staying in Nigeria, they believe that everything is just like survival of the fittest. They are struggling to survive. So that is one of the beliefs that some Nigerians have. They feel that if they leave this country, they will have a better opportunity outside there.
People need to survive. And if they can't survive where they were bettered, they have to go out there and try to survive. So in my opinion, because the amenities that should be there for them to make use of, to survive, the opportunities that should be there for them, they are not there. We don't have roads. We don't have lights. We have nothing. We virtually do everything for ourselves. We provide our security. Security, in fact, is another big headache. We provide our security. The people that are supposed to be providing security for us are the ones robbing us. It's crazy. We provide our security, we provide our water, we provide lights for ourselves, we make our roads. And they keep taxing the Nigerians, the Nigerian people. It's crazy.
The insecurity in Nigeria right now is so alarming, and no one wants to be victim of such. Everyone wants a country where they can be secured and they don't have to live in fear of anything, of bandits or of anything whatsoever. And also poverty. The poverty rate in Nigeria right now is second to none.
The International Air Travel Association projects that in 2022, Nigeria would record about 4 million passenger traffic on international travel, compared to 2,219,146 recorded in 2021. While the trend of traveling abroad lingers, Nigerians are hoping that the federal government will address the avalanche of problems bedeviling the nation. Perhaps this would compel them to have a rethink. Chioma Amarigbulam, reporting for IBrandTV.
The now suspended 5% tax on digital communication may have put pressure on the Nigeria's budding ICT sector if it had scaled through. This is according to Mr. Gamaliel Tanimomo, a business analyst. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Sapantami, had last week rejected the policy and advised President Muhammadu Buhari against it, given the effect it will have on the digital economy. While speaking to IBrandTV's Business Breakfast show earlier on Tuesday, Tanimomo said the suspension of the excise duty on data and voice calls on the country was a good development for the sector.
Particularly looking at their viewpoint, and I feel that it is healthy for democracy, because the whole essence of democracy is to bring in checks and balance, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. I'm of the opinion that a 5% additional excise duty on telecommunication sector will further deepen the poverty level in the country, and it will put further pressure on a sector that is just evolving. As at the last time I checked, the telecom sector contributed 10% to our GDP. But playing the devil's advocate and looking at it from the DG's perspective, looking at what we're paying as compared to other African countries, it is low. But that thinking, respectfully, is linear, because there's no basis for it. It's linear. Okay. It's linear.
All right.
You can't just take that assumption in isolation. So this is what I mean. Nigeria generates 4,000 megawatts of electricity for a population of 206 million people.
Yeah.
Ghana generates more than what we are generating for a population that is less than 30 million. So the question is, how do we juxtapose that? So we can't afford to take things on a surface level. We need to have basis for comparison. But I think that from the economic perspective, the suspension of that excise duty is a welcome development.
You're still watching Business Now, coming to you live from our studio. We'll take a moment now, and still to come. Oil prices rise on concerns over tight supplies. We'll bring you details and more news update. Please stay with us.